From the unexplained to the mundane, come join us on a journey to the fringe. Hello and welcome to Journey to the Fringe, where one David Paulides fan describes us as hard to follow through the inane laughter and definitely not a podcast that David Paulides would be caught on. We are your naively laughing hosts, Taylor and Chelsea, here today, maybe making David Paulides fans even more butthurt, but maybe not. I don't know for sure, because Chelsea's doing
the episode. We are.
Oh, good.
On this episode, I just thought in general, because I think that's just something we can add to our list of things we do here, is just upset David Paulides fans.
Yeah, it's just our voices that do this to the David Paulides fans.
And it's all the happiness.
Oh yeah, David Paulides fans do not like happiness.
Oh no.
Yeah, that one thing was clear from those episodes.
Oh yeah, that was clear. Okay, so I got something good for you guys today. It's a couple of episodes that I've put together for you. And if by couple you mean 3, I mean 3. Someone means 3. And for the next couple episodes, we're going to be exploring the life and times of not only the most prolific contactee, but also prophet, who comes forth bearing all sorts of scientific proof of his extraterrestrial contact. Edward Albert Meier was born February 3rd, 1937, and he's also known as Billy Meier. In case you got confused about who this episode was about, because I didn't tell you until right then, and that's not what he goes by. And I'm really going to emphasize the full name, Billy Edward Albert Meier, because he also goes by Beam. That's what he refers to himself as.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's his initials, right?
Yeah. I didn't make that up. Sometimes I give fun nicknames to people we're talking about. I didn't make that up. That's his own nickname for himself, which I'd never heard before. And why Billy if he gave himself the nickname Beam? Well, the name Billy, he says, was given to him by an American woman named Judy Reed. Quote, Edward Meier wearing a black hat and a gun belt reminded her of Billy the Kid, the legendary gunman of the West, end quote. However, I would bet money that he just wanted to make his initials into the Beam acronym. That's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, because, sorry, what was his name before?
Edward Albert Meier.
Oh, yeah, Eam is not good.
No, but Beam, different story.
Beam, yeah, that's Alien Beam. I like it. Right there. Great name.
Yeah, I think that he totally gave himself the name Billy so that he could do that.
Yeah. Do you think he's one of those people who gave himself his own nickname? I played football with a kid who gave himself the nickname Ace, and it was real awkward. Nobody wanted to call him Ace, and he called himself Ace. And I'm just wondering if this was...
Oh, he referred to himself in the third person as his nickname.
Yeah. Well, sorry, did he refer to himself as the nickname like Beam, or would he refer to himself as the full name, Billy, Edward, whatever,
I don't know.
Shortened to Beam?
I don't know. It never came up if he refers to himself in the third person.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about Beam in a little bit, so we'll see in the way that he uses it.
Okay.
So Beam, or as I prefer to call him, BM, was number 2 of 7 kids, and his dad was apparently a shoemaker. We can't laugh. This guy, was very upset with us on the David Paulides episode. For
oh God, he was.
Our own podcast.
We cannot laugh
And
enough,
humor.
guys. Yeah.
We're too funny. I'm sorry. I'll never stop laughing at my jokes. That's my promise to you. Okay, I gotta start over now. He was number 2 of 7 kids, and his dad was apparently a shoemaker, and overall, this is totally irrelevant to the story.
No, it's not, Chelsea. Just because BM was number 2.
Yeah, he was. Number 2. And when BM was 5 years old, somehow he ended up in the deep woods.
And sorry, I might have missed this. Where in the world is he at this time?
Hold on. I just missed the other sentence, so I gotta go back one.
Okay.
Thank you for calling me out on this. BM was born in the town of Bulak. I assume that was just flawless. In Zurcher,
Flawless
Unterland,
Flemish?
which I later came to find out is in and around Zurich in Switzerland.
Oh,
I'm not
okay,
sure
so
why it was put that way.
Chelsea, that was impeccable. One of French, German, or Italian right there.
I know.
Depending on where it was.
The accent was flawless. I know. I was practicing it. So now I can go back. You know what? I can go back to what I was just saying. So when he was 5 years old, somehow in Switzerland, he ended up in the deep woods. Stories vary as to how and why he was in the deep woods. Sometimes he is by himself, and other times he is with his father, but somehow he was in the deep woods. As we find with stories coming from prophets like this.
In the deep woods.
In the deep woods especially, but mostly prophets. It was here that he came upon an elderly-looking gentleman named Svath, who was standing in the dense forest, deep woods, some might say, wearing clothing that resembled a deep-sea diving suit without the helmet. Now, this is taken word from BM's website, and it says Svath is from Era, Plejarin. Plejarin is plural, equals star system, equals also the name of the population living in the Plejarin system. In brackets, no plural S at the end of the word, in contrast to the Pleiades. Exclamation mark, close bracket, close other bracket. Which just seems crazy to me. It's crazy nonsense, to put it that way. We'll get into this in a second. So, despite the man's odd appearance, the little boy did not fear him, meaning BM. And the two struck up a conversation, telepathically, by the way. But also, the conversation goes on throughout Billy's life for a little bit with Svath. And he also used the small device that Svath bestowed upon Meier. Now, let's take a time out from this deep woods encounter and just talk about what I just said there that seems so confusing about the Plejarin. The Pleiadians / Plejarins, the Pleiadians, and their confederates are human beings with physical bodies and look very much like the people of Earth, with the exception of some minor anatomical differences, especially regarding the confederates. As an aside, again, yeah.
What part of them is significantly different?
Not sure.
Specifically,
Not
okay.
sure. That is one detail in someone's work that is so very detailed that I did not see the details on.
Fair enough. They got too detailed that they missed the details.
Absolutely fair enough that it's missing a minor detail like that compared to all the other details that we're going to take a look at. So I'm going to take a little aside as well. And I've read a lot of Beam stuff up until this point. And I haven't seen the Confederates come up once yet. So in this mention of Confederates,
to be fair,
I have no idea what that is.
I didn't think they meant it as like the Confederacy. I thought they meant it more as like an amalgamation of a group.
I know, but still, he's referring to them kind of as a separate entity. So I never saw Confederates mentioned again.
Okay.
So that's, maybe it'll make sense the more we go on. Maybe we'll tie something together. Aside off, the Plejarins, as BM calls them, they live for about 1,000 years approximately.
Chelsea, I do have a question before you go too far. When we say 1,000 years they roughly live, are we talking Earth years or their years?
I'm gonna go with Earth years. Could be.
We always
years.
Assume that.
You're right.
We always assume that.
You know what?
I feel like that is Earthnocentric. That is an Earthnocentric approach to this thing.
I'm just gonna come out with it. I'm gonna spoil it for you all. Svath dies pretty early on. It might be.
Maybe that was 1,000 years.
Maybe it was from the time he met him.
Yeah.
And then he dies early on, and that was 1,000 of his years. And all he was doing was wasting.
Because you guys always have to remember, we define a year as a rotation of a planet from one point to the exact same point around a star. But that doesn't mean it has to be our planet or our star.
True.
And in fact, even in our own solar system, there's 9 different years.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's more years, and I just
Or are we just defining it as like an Earth year, which is around our sun with our planet?
See, I am going to call it Earthnocentrism, which is very close to ethnocentrism, but with Earthness.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of assholes. We can't think of anyone else but ourselves. Okay, back to this. So their home planet is somewhat smaller than Earth. It's called Era, and while this is their home planet, they also inhabit multiple planets. I'll leave that with you to just take in. Meier has referred to people from Era as Erins, and Pleiadians in general are sometimes referred to as the Plejarins by Meier.
And Chelsea, is this where the name Aaron comes from?
Probably. With an E. Girl errands.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
And so because of their dimension, the Pleiades are known as the Plegerans. So not really sure what the fuck he means by that. But he said it nonetheless. So in quotes, which I'm not sure who this quote's coming from at this point. Pleiadians exist in a physical dimension that is shifted a fraction of a second ahead of our space-time configuration and is located approximately 500 light years from Earth's perspective, an additional 80 light years beyond our dimension's Pleiades star system. End quote. Its population is about 500 million people, and while the entire Federation has a population of 120 billion. The Plegeran are not identical with the Pleiades we can see in the night sky. They are 80 light years beyond the Pleiades in another space and time constellation, which is another dimension, which is so funny because I think I just mentioned that it was a fraction of a second.
Yeah, and 80 light years ahead because of
Which
that.
is funny because I got all of this work from his multiple websites, so not sure where the disconnect is on that. The Plegerans' consciousness or spirit and technology are much higher and advanced than here on Earth. The Plegeran and the people on Earth have the same ancestors but have developed separately. Okay, timeout off. We're back to the deep woods with Svath. And this was to be the first of what Meier claimed to have been lifelong interactions with beings from other planets who were essentially grooming him to be the next prophet. And he was groomed by Svath between 1942 to 1953. And that's me using the word groom because I'm going to be honest, what adult, no matter what solar system we're from, is contacting a child of that age?
In the deep woods, contacting a
deep woods.
child to change their viewpoint on anything.
So Meier follows the long line of prophets. As I mentioned in my opener, it goes Enoch, Elijah, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Jesus, Mohammed, Billy Meier, or BM. And he is heralding the coming of world wars, intergalactic discoveries, and environmental disasters and more. Due to these experiences, Meier was said to have mentally aged at such a rate that he is the maturity at that time of a 35-year-old man when he was only 7, which is probably about the same in my experience anyway.
It really depends on what topic they're really saying that he has a prowess in. Because yes, there are situations where a 35-year-old and a 7-year-old will have similar foresight.
Oh yeah, that's true. After this time, Meier leaves public school before finishing the 6th grade, as you did at the time, which is whatever year I said it was. I can't remember. I'm doing all the talking. I can't keep track of everything I'm saying. And during this time, Meier claims to have traveled the world over on Svath's spacecraft, meeting various earthly leaders with whom Svath was acquainted, including the venerable Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Meier's journey with Svath also took him through not only space, but the expanse of the time in which he saw himself in previous lifetimes and beheld the future of the world. When Billy was 11, Svath dies. So that just brings up the whole, like, how many years are we counting here? And Asket, which is another person, takes over for Svath, who is not Plegeran, actually, but is from a sister universe to our own, the Doll universe. And Asket is taking over the grooming between 1953 and 1964, in which he's in contact with Asket. So maybe that's what he means by comrades. That's what he was calling them, right?
Yeah, I think.
Hold on. I'm just going to go back. Confederates. Sorry.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, they rose up against the union of the Pleiades.
Yes. Maybe that's the Confederate that he's speaking with because she's from a different dimension.
That will
universe.
rise again.
Exactly. And together with Asket and under her guidance, BM undertakes far journeys on our Earth, during which his instruction intensified and was continued. Among other things, Asket revealed also the secrets of the pyramids of Giza, which they together explored. Asket even allowed AIM to trip back to Jemanuel's This is where you start to see it take a turn in this episode.
I'm very curious what kind of term we're looking at for a little boy who travels with aliens.
I have it right in brackets right next to this word, but I'm gonna actually finish this sentence before I reveal to you who Jemanuel is.
Is it Hitler?
Basket allows Beamed a trip back into Jemanuel's time, where he was able to personally speak with Jemanuel and was allowed to receive many important lessons from Jemanuel. Jemanuel's...
I really believe this is Hitler.
Think it's
with
Hitler?
The fact that you haven't told me it's not
well,
Hitler.
Jemanuel's alias is Jesus Christ.
Oh, okay. Those are different people.
Not sure why he goes by Jemanuel. But he does.
They left that out of the Bible, didn't they?
Did, for sure.
Where every time he introduces himself, he says, "Please call me Jemanuel."
Yeah, please. Maybe that's the censored
even when he was on the
Let's
cross
get
and the guy was
popes in
hammering
here.
the nails
What
in his
does
neck
Jesus
wrist.
actually go
Yeah.
by? What did you guys censor out of the fucking Bible? It was Jemanuel, isn't it?
Oh, that is an even different name. Wow. Chelsea, I can't believe how many names they have just put out right now for us to know. And in fact, Hitler was one of them. Wow. We are learning so much from the popes.
much. So Taylor was partially right. I'm so glad we invited the dead popes to come be on this podcast.
That Ouija board episode was a real blessing.
So, in the book titled Spaceships of the Pleiades, author Cal K. Korff, not going to acronym that one, should not do that.
Can I still ask about the acronym? Is it KKK?
It is.
Okay.
We can't acronym that.
Okay, I just needed to make sure.
It is. So, in Meier's younger years, he, quote, spent his time working various manual labor jobs, dodging truant officers, and having occasional brushes with the law, end quote. In BM's teens, he was convicted multiple times of apparently minor offenses. If you're curious to know the kind of minor offenses he was committing, I have only one that I was able to find for you. This minor offense is that as a result of his travels and perceivably odd preoccupations with, his groomer Svath, Meier distanced himself from other children, and he soon became the target of...
That is a very significant notification that there's grooming taking place as well, just so everybody's on the same page.
And eventually, tensions escalated to a fever pitch, and when a woman slapped him with a wet towel, Meier returned the blow. An offense that landed him in a youth prison at the age of 14. And I'm gonna just say it was probably more than, quote, a blow if it landed him in a prison as a minor. So 1953 comes about, and it not only marks the beginning of his relationship with Asket, but he was also convicted of thievery and forgery and sentenced to a prison term in Rheinau. And after escaping from the facility, Meier illegally crosses the border and joins the French Foreign Legion. Then he goes AWOL from the Legion, and he ends up turning himself in Switzerland. From here, Meier claims he escaped and sets out on foot. So he's just escaping everywhere at this point. And he escapes and sets out on foot on a long journey across the mountains and desert and numerous countries in Europe, Asia, Africa, doing all jobs like chicken farmer, grape picker, nail pounder, snake catcher, truck driver, puppeteer, waiter, German tutor, and ship painter. Joining all the religions. Catholicism, Catholic, Muslim.
Is that a job?
It's all the religions I'm naming.
Oh, okay.
Hindu.
Okay.
This is just me not reading from a script and just naming religions that I know. Buddhism, atheism, I don't know. In search of a belief system acceptable to him.
Chelsea, one more.
It's Shenyun.
There we go. Okay.
Was I right?
I mean, maybe, I don't know. That's one of those weird ones, but okay, I agree.
Scientology.
He did genuine. I like that. He danced so hard in that troupe before communism.
So eventually he finds himself in the Middle East as a day laborer, of all things he could be doing there. I would have picked like oil billionaire of all things to do in the Middle East. But Meier then said...
Yeah, and there's really only two jobs at the time in the Middle East, and he picked the worst one.
Day laborer and oil billionaire. Yep. There's the two options, and they are a choice. We all know that.
Yeah.
So Meier says that he then took up the unusual vocation of pursuing serial killers and mass mass murderers to bring them to justice.
Is that because his day laboring wasn't bringing in enough funds?
Probably not.
Did he become poor Batman?
Yes.
Okay.
Which I feel like it would not work out too well.
It's going to be a lot harder for poor Batman out there. There's a reason there's not a comic out there called Poor Batman.
Nobody wants to watch it. Because it's just sad.
The guy's just barely getting by. And in fact, every now and then has to partake in those shifts, being the lackey.
And so he goes by the moniker The Phantom. So he becomes the subject of 21 failed assassination attempts. I guess he was just that good, being a day laborer, moonlighting as a serial killer and mass murderer.
Well, see, I need to asterisk this now. That good or that bad as a day laborer. Yeah. There were that many assassination attempts on
True. Why would you go to another country to do this? It doesn't make sense.
I mean, he went everywhere, man. He went everywhere.
Can you imagine this song in that? That needs to be done, as somebody is that talented to be able to put that together. So it's put that it was Ascot who leads Meier to all of these adventures, to explore as many careers and countries of the world and experience it all as much as possible. And it was she who led him through a series of adventures designed to toughen him up for the adversity to come. Being a prophet is hard work. It was she who led him through Africa and the experiences in the French Foreign Legion, the desert caravans, the slavers, revolutionaries, and bootleggers, into the hands of the pirates of the Arabian Sea, and across the Indian Ocean as a sailor with the freighters to the subcontinent of India. And that brings us to August 3rd, 1965. Meier was riding a bus in Iskenderun in Turkey when a drunk driver of another bus crashes into Meiers' bus. Not sure why there is a drunk driver driving a bus, but nonetheless it happened, and the impact ejected Meier from the bus and crushed his left arm so severely that it had to be amputated. So Billy Meier does only have one arm. And Meier, who was undeterred, continued his travels and relocated to Greece, where he met Calliope Zephyru, whom he married in March 1966. This is a real person, not a plagiarian.
Okay, I was really waiting to hear about this person.
No, it's a real person, not an alien. And the couple moves to Pakistan for some reason. It doesn't say why when they're already in Greece, but that's where their first child, Gilgamesha, was born. Then, in 1970, Meier returns to Switzerland with his family of 3 now, and they later welcome their second child. Brace yourself, hold on to something. You're about to be blown off your chair by this name.
Hold on.
Good. Atlantis Socrates into the world.
Okay, that is a very good name. I was actually very worried we were going to hear Lancelot Capability.
You were worried? That's a beautiful name. Lancelot Capability.
But he's come up before. His beautiful work with yards.
Oh, you thought it was going to be him. And we are going to tie into another episode so beautifully. Yeah. No, unfortunately, it's not that good. This one's just a name, Atlantis Socrates.
I remain sunk into my seat, then. I'm sorry. That's just how it goes.
Their youngest child, Methuselah, was born in 1973. And the family...
My God, did they like these, early centuries names?
Oh, yeah. Loved them. Those are some good... Okay, we got Gilgamesha, Atlantis Socrates, and
Who even created names in the last 1,800 years anyways?
Yeah.
Nobody, that's who. Nobody worthwhile anyways. We go with Methuselah. We go with Gilgamesh. We go with, I don't know, maybe if we really have to stretch.
It's not even the good lost civilization. No. If I were to pick one, it wouldn't be Atlantis. And maybe Socrates.
Oh, no, God. No, and especially if you're going to name something with Socrates, it's got to be Musocrates. That
runs
so well.
Together. I'm gonna be honest. That runs together very well. Musocrates. Yes, Musocrates, you have your hand up. You may speak. So he receives a small monthly welfare payment from the Swiss government because of his handicap, which is one arm. I'm assuming, unless there's a greater handicap.
Which happened in Turkey?
Yep. I'm a drunk driver of a bus. Went for another bus.
On another bus.
Yep. And
Okay.
he supplements the family's income by raising chickens and selling the chickens' eggs. So in 1974, Meier places an ad in a German magazine, Esoterra, seeking anyone who might wish to form a group for discussing and studying metaphysical or paranormal subjects. And people respond to the ad, and a study group was born. It was at one of these meetings where Meier first made the astonishing claim that he was in direct contact with extraterrestrials. In 1975, Meier began his contacts with Sam Jassy. They all roll right off the tongue. We're talking in areas, Switzerland, that is on the border of Germany. So they speak both the beautiful language of Swiss and German. And I gotta love the German language. I love it.
Oh, it's so
Completely
emotional in a non-funny way.
But they're a little bit of a German influence. Just a little, if you haven't noticed. So Sam Jassy is another female extraterrestrial with whom he allegedly had more than 100 face-to-face encounters with. And it was she who allowed Meier to begin photographing her beam ship and other UFOs. We get into it in the next episode about the beam ships. So just remember that for about a week.
And
we'll come back.
I want to make sure too, by beam ship, you don't mean his ship. Correct?
No, it's very strange that he goes by this nickname Beam, and the UFOs that they fly are specifically called beam ships. Very strange coincidence,
okay,
might say, at this point anyway. So, Meier's extraordinary claims garnered international attention when Swiss UFO researcher Luz Zinstag sent some of Meier's photos to Wendell Stevens in the United States. I forgot to mention, probably with this being said, that EM takes photos of UFOs.
Okay. Might I also add,
Yeah.
Wendell is a name that has really fallen out of grace. I can't disagree with the name. It's not a bad name. Other than the fact that if it's a little boy, the little boy's nickname is Wendy.
From your own... You're right. But I'm also trying to figure out where you just got the name. Oh, yeah, right there, Wendell. You're right. Wendell is a good
Wendell
name.
Stevenson.
Yeah.
It's not a bad name. It's just the nickname's not great. Nickname's not great.
No, it's not. For a boy, anyway. Unless he likes to go by
But
Wendy.
weirdly enough, it's just that we like to add E to the end of names.
No, that's
because
true.
Wendell and Wendy, they're the exact same length.
Yeah, they are.
But I'm still going to call him Wendy.
Stevens went to Switzerland to investigate the case, and as a result, he published UFO Contact from the Pleiades, as well as Message from the Pleiades, a 4-volume set of books related to the case. As one of the primary researchers of the Meier case, Stevens' multi-year investigation played a large part in introducing Billy Meier to the world, as well as the world to Billy Meier. Now, that so far is what I need you to know about Billy Meier's life in a nutshell. Like I said, this is going to be a couple-part episode, so obviously there's a lot more to this, but this is the background of his life that I need you to know. 1, he has 1 arm. 2, he's like right along there with Jemanuel in as far as prophets go.
And by Jemanuel, you mean Jesus, right?
Yeah, that's who I mean. We're all on the same page. Deep woods and all the other stuff I talked about. So let's all remember that moving forward. Very important. So that's the essential information that you're going to need moving forward. Obviously, BM had a fuck ton of contact. You know what? I'm going too far by saying obviously. I'm doing this episode. It's obvious to me at this point, but I'm imparting you with this. So he's had a fuck ton, and I cannot emphasize the fuck part of that. The F.
Every
enough.
alien wants a piece of this guy.
Yeah.
They want to talk to this boy.
To him.
He's very special.
So much contact, it would make your head spin. So I thought I would take a look at some of the contact and wisdom at this point that Beam was provided in his contact. And it's just kind of background information. I'm obviously not going to go through all the contact because it is immense. And I'm going to give you kind of a taste of it in a couple minutes, what exactly this contact looks like. And not all of it though, because some things need to be held back for future episodes. So I'm going to rapid fire you some bullet points here with some points from the Plagerians and fast facts about his contacts. Feel free to stop me where you must. And of course, this is presented without context, as always. So from 1964, where we left off with Asket, she ends in 1964 and resumes in 1975 when he meets Sam Jassy, which is 11 years. I find it strange based on the rest of his life that it just stopped for 11 years, but Sam Jassy is the granddaughter of Svath, and shortly after, another Plagerian man named Ptah comes along, and other extraterrestrials have since allegedly joined the dialogue as well, and Meier claims to be in regular contact with these extraterrestrial beings. Meier has apparently had more than 900, his claims, 900 personal contacts with extraterrestrials. Quetzal, Ptah, and Nera, as well as the others I mentioned in this episode, are the most commonly mentioned in his stories, lies, whatever you want to call them. Didn't mean to say lies right there. That might be a little bit of a foreshadow.
A write-in by us.
Maybe, yeah. The Plagerians have a message of the extinction of mankind due to overpopulation and provides explanations on innumerable questions and phenomena. But not only do the Pleiadians know about our future, they also know about our past. Jesus, Emmanuel, Galileo Galilei, Isaac Newton. I just tried to say Isaac Newton like Galileo Galilei. Isaiah. They all had contacts with aliens, and according to BM, are misrepresented by our history books. Those are just some facts about need to be in there. I could have put them in the beginning of this episode. Didn't wanted to give them to you as fast facts.
It's good. I like those as after we learned about his.
Yeah, exactly. I could mix it. I gotta add them as an afterthought.
I would also like to add at this point that none of those people I just mentioned ever talked about alien interactions. So we have that.
How would they, though? They're dead.
Well, they did write things down, surprisingly enough. But you raise a fair point in that they are dead, so they cannot talk about them. Good point.
I can put an afterthought, so they cannot. So, this is one of my favorite things that has come from okay, I'm gonna be honest. I in no way, shape, or form have the time, or do I want to read everything that Billy Meier has had the fucking time on this earth. Right. And it's a lot. He must be writing for hours and hours and hours a day like it's a full-time job. This is the favorite story that I have. We're gonna tell...
Wait, Chelsea, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
When we say he was a day laborer, was his labor writing by chance?
I don't know, actually. We're gonna see some fun stuff in the next episode.
Okay.
This is gonna be really fun. So this is kind of one of my favorite things that happened to BM as far as I've seen. I'm sure there's a lot of things that might come to my attention as my favorite if I was to look into every single thing that he did. This one stood out as a good one, and we're gonna talk about it more in the next episode as well. But I'm gonna give you a little taste right now to keep you going for next week and get you excited. So in 1975, Beam has a quote great journey. And this happens, 1975. It's also referred to as the Great Voyage, Great Trip, 5-day space trip, the space and time travel, or simply as the trip. It is so, what's the word I'm looking for? Like grandiose.
Transformational.
Grandiose, just like life-changing.
Epic. Yeah.
Epic journey that happened to him. And it was a carefully planned and guided tour by the Plagerian and the Plagerian Federation personnel.
And Chelsea, it was the Sorpo, right?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Serpo was included on the tour. So through a rich diversity of sights, sounds, explanations, demonstrations, and experiences through space and time, to planets within the solar system and far beyond it, even to beyond itself, lots of dimensionality to it, and all in a beam ship. It happened in the year 1975, beginning on Thursday the 17th of July with contact report 031, and ended on the the 22nd of July. It apparently continued over contact reports 32, 34, and 35. These are all reports that Billy has written. The second part of the journey was described in contact report 039, which started on the 3rd of December and lasted 2 days. The events were not all exhaustively documented at the time, but briefly instead, probably not to overload the reader with too much detail at one time. It was an intensive 5-day experience with a lot to take in. However, events were indeed later reflected upon, and in hindsight, with additional questions being posited and subsequently answered. The photos taken were regrettably sabotaged, but would have been worth 1,000 words, serving to fortify and tell the story we can deduce would have been the original plan and rationale for taking them. It's nevertheless a well-documented story. So I feel like I must give you some information here. Billy took a fuck ton of pictures on this journey, which is what we're going to be talking about in the next episode. And I'm not even going to say anything more because I don't want to ruin anything for you. Just listen to the next episode because you want to hear it. I know we haven't done it yet, so I just want to show you some of the fucking reports this guy writes. It's just off the hook. He has millions of tons of these fucking reports in regards to the Great Journey itself. He has 17 reports just on this one. And it comes to us as contact record of the Great Journey. So I'm just going to open this up. I skimmed the first little part of it, and I'm going to experience this with you. I'm not reading this whole thing. I'm absolutely not. I could scroll probably for the rest of the night and not even get to the end of this. It is so fucking detailed. So let's dig into it right now. So it starts off, Sam Jassy, number 1. I am not sure why these are numbered. That's my first thing that I take away from this. And we have it here in both German and English. So Sam Jassy says, number 1. Not sure why it's numbered. And Sam Jassy's the only one that's numbered. He says, today is your big day. Billy says, after all that you have told me, I have already thought this to myself as well. Sam Jassy, 2. You must be having thoughts. That is to be expected. 3. But also, this time I must warn you that you will have to keep silence over certain things. 4.
You must
at a later date.
That is to be expected.
At a later date, however,
Oh,
I may give you the permission to write about all that you have seen and experienced. I can only assume that happened. Number 5. That was me saying that. He got the permission. Number 5.
Yeah.
So, I will leave out of the transmission of the reports all that cannot be spoken about yet. Number 6. But now come. First, we will do another trip through our sun system. And then in brackets below it, it says this isn't numbered. We head to the ship and let ourselves... This guy, I don't even want to comment on this yet. Like, he's writing it like a script. Like, this is happening verbatim. Like, there's no way he's writing this as it's happening unless it's in his fucking head. Maybe I didn't want to say that. Anyhow, I'm gonna continue. In brackets, we head to the ship and let ourselves be lifted by the transport beam. After a few seconds, the ship is already hovering high, and from an altitude of about 50 meters, I take some photos of the surroundings of the ship's departure point below. I take some straight from above and others at an angle. I take them through the still open transport beam hatch while we slowly rise. After I finish, Sam Jassy closes the hatch, and within seconds, the ship shoots up several kilometers high, without me being able to feel any acceleration or other external forces. It's just as if I am standing on solid ground somewhere on Earth. Also, several sudden changes of direction cause no effect. Even if through the ship's window, I can see that we often shoot in different directions like a crazy giant pendulum. Like, why wouldn't they just go straight? Why are they bouncing all over the universe? So next, that's the end of the bracket. Sam Jassy says, 7. We are now leaving the Earth's gravitational field. Billy says, where are we to go now? Sam Jassy says, 8. First to Venus, where you may already use your camera. Billy, what about Venusians? Can one photograph them? Sam Jassy, 9. You must be joking, because I already told you explicitly that this planet carries no human life forms. Billy, I know. I just wanted to see what you would say. Sam Jassy, 10. I understand. You refer to certain claims of alleged contactees. Billy, exactly. Sam Jassy, 11. Your lines of thought are often very difficult to detect. Did he just call him?
Yeah. Yeah, I get that from Beeb.
12. But now, take a look at this equipment here, which we have developed specifically to provide you with better photographic possibilities. 13. You can simply put your camera against the screen and take photos of the outside. 14. As you see, you can also look through this transparent material and see the outside just as if it was a simple glass window.
Huh. So they did the way more intricate version of a glass window.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But almost exactly like a glass window.
Yeah.
15. The device next to it, however, generates multiple radiations, which make visible or simply preserve the existing color shades, etc., of the objects so that they may be captured on film. I do like that in conversation he actually used the word like etc. I don't know how many times I actually use that when I'm just listing things off if I'm not writing it.
You're not an alien named Sam Jaffee.
That's true.
That's pretty clear.
That's true, and I don't number my sentences.
No.
16.
You don't start ever setting off with a sentence off with 11, 12. Well, hear me now.
Yeah. It's to keep track. If you referred back to sentence 6 that I said,
we would all be on the same page.
Yeah. 16. In this manner, you will be able to produce good color photos, or so we hope. 17. From our side, we have another camera, which is very similar to yours. 18. If you give me a film, I can help you with the second camera. Billy. Of course, but I am surprised because you already told me once you use a completely different technique to create photographic images, but now you suddenly come with a matching camera. Sam Jassy laughs quietly like this.
So many
19.
options.
The camera is a product of your technology, and it was acquired by one of us. Oh, somebody, one of the Plagerians jacked it off somebody.
They went down and stole somebody's Polaroid? Those assholes. Number
Billy.
20, those assholes.
Billy, you surprised me. You must have gone into our villages or cities then. Sam Jassy, 20. Is that so strange? Billy, I always see you in your suits. And with these clothes, neither you nor any of yours could step into the eyes of the dear Earth humans. Sam Jassy, 21. Sure, but we also have clothes of your type. 22. They probably stole it from someone else. 22. We need these because we move amongst you here and there, naturally shielded from swinging waves, so that we won't be harmed by the swinging waves of the Earth humans. 23. However, we can only do this for a short period of time. Billy, that doesn't really surprise me, but why don't you go out with me sometime then? Sam Jassy, 24. We can reach an agreement about that sometime. Billy, that was quick. However, we have the so-called police, who often, for whatever whim, will check on people. How will it be if someone asks for your identity papers? Sam Jassy, 25. You have many questions, but don't worry about it. 26. We don't have identity papers of your kind because we don't need such things in that form. 27. Should it happen, however, that we get asked for such documents, then we are able to adjust this by influencing thoughts. 28. This adjusting takes place through the power of our thoughts, by which a mock appearance is created for the concerned questioner and information from actual persons of your world is simulated for him or her. 29. An eventual police officer would thereby get the impression that he or she has some documents in hand and that he or she is verifying them. Billy, that is deceit, Sam Jassy. Sam Jassy, 30. No, it deals only with the creation of a hallucination, if you want to call it that. Billy, I understand, so let's leave that.
Is it just Meiers Billy focused on like the completely wrong parts of this conversation?
Yeah, it's almost like this trip didn't happen and he just fucking made it up out of his own
no,
mind,
he's
right?
very focused on like, you guys are here all the time, like, how do you do this? And you're like, oh yeah, the papers, and we just kind of walk around and we steal shit.
Meanwhile, he's like flying around Venus.
Yeah, I would have so many different questions.
And they pull out like the same camera from Earth and he's like, what are you doing? I'm just gonna read this next little part and then this goes on. I could be reading this for fucking hours and I'm not doing that.
It's just going to be another Serpo episode if we do, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. I assume this is just one thing.
Yeah.
So it goes on quite a while. I'm going to read this next part and leave it off here for this episode. So in brackets, under he understands and leaves it at that. In bracket, the flight to Venus does not take very long, so I have just enough time to examine in more detail the equipment for making the photos. The viewing screen looks to me like clear glass through which everything outside can be observed, as with you can with glass.
I'm sorry, he had just enough time to observe one thing in the spaceship, and he decides to do the camera?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, he was
I
gone
feel like
for
there's going to be
5
more
days.
exciting things to like look at and
He's
say like,
gone for
wow,
5
these
days,
things are
so
crazy.
who knows at this point.
Yeah.
He seems
Okay.
by the time they get to Venus, all he's talked about is papers if they were to get questioned by the police on Earth.
Yeah.
Okay, so clear glass. I only noticed that this whole viewing screen has a very fine resolution, similar to a photographic print. The size of the screen is about 50 by 50 centimeters. That's an odd thing to say about the glass he's looking through. If you noted that he said that the resolution of the glass is similar to a photographic print. While the color radiation device is installed on the side of it and recessed, I could not examine its inner workings. Beside this device, there is also an oscillograph and many different kinds of apparatuses all around the cockpit room, installed within a circular control console and on the walls. All this strange-looking equipment already seen on the first flight is obviously used for the guidance and control of the beam ship, while also serving as exploration devices, distance meters, radiation control devices, and other such things, all playing important roles in the operation of the flight machine. All the display screens, except the oscillograph, however, differ fundamentally from all other apparatuses of Earth origin I have ever seen of similar type, whereby all of the appearing forms, symbols, and figures on the screens are expressed in beautiful and often fantastic colors and also extraordinarily vividly.
I'm glad he at least looked at things that weren't just the cameras in the spaceship.
Unlike the Earth displays that I know, which in practice are only able to display flat, two-dimensional images lacking depth, these screens show everything in vivid three-dimensional realism, like they are physically real and not just a technically generated image. As we approach Venus, I have to tear myself away from the considerations because Sam Jassy begins talking. I'm gonna leave you on that cliffhanger because I gotta call it somewhere and it goes on for so fucking long. I'll post this up in the episode notes, but that's where I'm gonna leave it for this episode, and we're gonna pick it back up next week. Do you have any thoughts on, I'm gonna ask you what you knew of Billy Meier before at this point? I should have asked you at the beginning, but I was so excited to
be fully frank, when you say Billy Meier, I probably would have gotten him confused with Billy Mays and said, oh yeah, that guy who sells ShamWows.
I'll tell you what I knew about him.
Okay.
I do know that he has quite a large following, and I did know that he photographs, which funnily enough, I kind of left out of this episode. He is one of the only person that has like crystal clear photographs of UFOs. That's what I knew of Billy Meier going into.
And I do in fact think I got a request for an episode on this guy from somebody I talked to that I just haven't gotten around to yet, so I am glad we're doing it.
Well, I telepathically picked up on that, or something that's not telepathly, because it didn't tell me that in my head. But yeah,
it told you it in your heart.
What are you thinking so far?
I'm feeling that this Billy boy needed more adults in his life.
Yeah, I would agree. It does seem like he did not have many other than the extraterrestrial groomers.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see if adults end up in his life. And I'm sure they do in very unique and different ways than we're expecting in the near future.
Yeah.
But I think that's all I got for you because, man, this guy, he kind of just like loses an arm and then says, okay, I'm going to go fly on spaceships now. And he does that.
No, that's exact. He does do that. And so next episode, we're going to kind of make the picture whole of Billy Meier and kind of bring it all together for you of that which makes Billy Meier. And as far as part 3, I'm still going to leave that a mystery, even though I did subtly allude to it in this episode. Part 3, I think, is going to be a surprise for everyone because I don't think I even put it in the next episode because I certainly didn't know that about him. Oh, that was a loud car.
That was a really loud car. Wow. Good for them.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're in for some interesting facts, too. Some hilarious facts and surprising. I don't know if I just put another one in because I can't remember what number 1 was. And maybe that's the point of numbering your stuff, so I'm fucking it up.
Yes, that is why you should be numbering your paragraphs of speech. It's very clear at this point. Anyhow.
Okay.
I don't know. 84? I have been Taylor, here with Chelsea. We are Journey to the Fringe. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Journey to the Fringe. If you have liked what you have listened to, please like, share, subscribe, or follow, depending on what venue you are listening to us through. Also, please, if possible, leave a 5-star review, as that really helps us in the algorithms. Should you wish to interact with us, please check us out on your social media of choice. I bet you we are there. And if you really want to communicate with us and give us ideas for new episodes or tell us that we're wrong and terrible, either way, please send us an email at journeytothefringe@gmail.com. For now, I'll see you in the next episode.